Yo, what's going on, guys? Reversal here, and today I'm gonna be doing another Dino deck profile on a budget. Last time I did one of these, it was around $100, and that was mostly because it included two ground Xenos. And a lot of people have been requesting me to do another one without the ground Xenos, since they said $100 is still too much for a budget deck. Ground Xenos still too much to spend for a single card, which are definitely valid. So this profile isn't gonna have ground Xeno at all. And instead of $100 from scratch, it's going to be a little less than 70 from scratch. So assuming you don't own a single card, it still averages out to a little less than $1 per card, which I think is pretty reasonable. And the like Dino portion of the deck and like the extra deck stuff that you need for the Dino cards, it's only around like 20 bucks. So realistically, most of this is still just generic staples that you need to own in order to play this game at anything above like an extremely casual level anyways. So I think it's pretty reasonable to expect to spend around $1 per card if you don't own a single card. So if you have staples already, this isn't going to cost you really anything at all, so keep that in mind. But for the people that don't own anything at all and maybe you're looking for a deck to get into the game with, this is definitely an affordable one that's a pretty viable option that you can improve over time with the more you want to put into it, money wise, or say you pull stuff and you can improve it. And then Ground Xeno could get a reprint and rarity collection too, potentially as well, which would be nice. But otherwise, it might not come till later in the year for that specific card. But yeah, before I continue, as you could probably see, this is a new mat that I haven't used before. This is a cloth play mat from Grimoire Accessories. So definitely check them out. I've never had a cloth mat before, so this has been pretty cool to use. The cards kind of slide around easier, so that's kind of nice, as opposed to like a rubber mat where it just kind of sticks in place the whole time. So it's definitely preferences to either one, but if you're in the market for a cloth mat, check them out. And if you decide to buy one, use code Reversal5 for 5% off. And then, as you've seen in the other videos, maybe, or in the thumbnails, the most recent videos, the Dino mat that I have, that has like this art on it with these sleeves. If you're interested in these, check out finalsaga.de, and if you decide to buy anything from them, use code Reversal10 for 10% off. So yeah, now that that's out of the way, I made a poll the other day asking how many people use scraps still, just to kind of see if I'm failing the Dino community or not. And thankfully around 70% of people said they aren't, so proud of y'all for that. For the people that said they are still using scraps, a common answer I was seeing is I don't have ground Xenos, so I'm using scraps because they're cheap, which is a thought process I can kind of see some people having, but I feel like it's the wrong thought process to have, because technically Scrap Raptor plus Lost World is a combo. That is true, but that combo loses to every hand trap in the game, including the ones you're not supposed to be losing to, such as Ghost Mourner, Ghost Spell, Nibiru, etc. So, and realistically, you're not even seeing that combo a large majority of the time. It's like maybe 10% of your games, if that. And I just don't think those cards are worth playing at all. They don't really increase your ceiling unless you're doing an FTK, in my opinion, because I think Lars is just better than making Savage. The cards are just bricks in your hands all the time, pretty much. But you could say the same about Meteorus and Frostosaurus, but at least the Meteorus, if you get to start playing in any way, shape, or form, you can actually make use of it at least. And then having the Frostosaurus in the deck helps tremendously versus Droll, which I think can't be understated enough, because Droll is pretty popular in the format right now, and that card helps a lot into that, which I've been getting Drolled left and right lately, more than ever probably, and it doesn't matter a lot of the time if all they have is the Droll, because you just end on Lars Dolka through it anyway, and it's like fine. But yeah, I'm going to show that you don't need to play scraps just to play the deck on a budget still in this profile. So get right into it. We got the 3 Ovies as usual, 2 Archosaur, 3 babies, and playing 2 Petites in this list still, just because it is a minor bump in consistency with one of the other packages we're playing to replace the ground Xenos, then the 1 Misk and the 1 Rex. I'm also playing Rex instead of the Kaito because I don't believe in the polymerization combos personally. I think they're bad. And you're not playing ground Xeno, so you don't even have the ability to fuse anyways. So I think Rex being an Earth is more relevant than Kaito being able to attack directly, in my opinion. Then we got the Meteorus and the Frostosaurus. So still opting to play these even without ground Xeno. Yes, they can be bricky as well, such as the scraps are, but like I said, the Meteorus, it's not bad when you draw it as long as you get to start playing to some degree, which to me, it's a win more card when you draw it. So it's still technically like a brick as far as I'm concerned. But at least if you do just get to pop something, you do get to use it. And then the Frostosaurus, like I said, it's great to have versus Droll more than anything. And then Lars is just one of the best interruptions that we have access to. So I think it's still worth playing, mainly for the Droll thing. Then we got the 1 Pink and the 2 Conductor, as usual. So I'll move on to the spells. Got 3 Prosperity. This card's like $4 a copy now, so $12 for a playset. For the best consistency card this deck can ask for is pretty reasonable, in my opinion. So I would definitely get these if you can. If $12 is still too much, then you can consider Small World and then maybe adjusting some of the other cards to kind of facilitate that a little better. But I think Prosperity is just a significantly better card than Small World. So unless you just can't get access to this card for whatever reason, I think you should invest the $12 and play it. 3 Fossil Dig, 2 Pill. And then for the field spell package, we're using 2 Lost World, 1 Diagram, 1 Set Rotation, and 1 Litho. So these 3 cards are pretty much your Ground Xeno replacement. They're pretty much the same thing as Ground Xeno in a sense, but it's just a lot worse. But the package is still okay. I think like Diagram plus Baby's fine. Litho, drawing this card's not very good a majority of the time, but sometimes it's fine. And then Set Rotation, I think, is the best card of this package since it can get you either one of these, and it gives your opponent a card so they can't imperm your normal summon at that point. And then going second, this can get rid of like Fire King Islands and stuff like that, which can be cool as well. So I think Set Rotation is the best part of this package by far. And then the Diagram and the Litho combos, if you only have 1 Baby and then like 1 random like hand trap or something, the combo's pretty bad in my opinion, if that's all you have, since it loses to like Nibiru and stuff like that. But if you have an extra Dino in your hand, like an extra Conductor or Pank or Rex or something like that, the cool thing is, since you have the second Dino, you can search Misk with the Ovi at that point instead of searching a Baby. So you can play around Nib as long as you open the extra Dino to pop. So it's okay in that sense. And then, I mean, the package is okay. I've been playing it even with the non-budget deck here and there, and it's been like okay. The only issue I've had with it really is as an extender sometimes, if your OV gets like impermed or something, it's not great as an extender since you are really cut off from a lot of the things that you want to do. But it's still fine as like just a small consistency boost and then a small resilience boost. And the deck can use any form of that it can get, to be honest. So then for the non-engine stuff, we're playing 3 Ash, 3 Veiler, and 3 Imperm. And then 1 Call By and 1 Instant Fusion for some more defensive cards. The Imperms and the Ashes, along with the Prosperity, are where the main chunk of the budget comes from in the main deck, because like I said, the Prosperities are like $4 a card, and then these 2 are like $10 a set each as well. So but I think these are cards that you just need to own if you're playing this game, like I said. I think Imperm's like the best generic hand trap right now, and then Ash is pretty good into like the non-fire decks more than anything, like Branded and stuff. But it's still good to have versus fire, even though it does give them heat of material. It's still like a good generic card that you can use, especially when you pair it with like one of these, because you could like hit their normal with this and then hit the extender with Ash. So it's pretty good. And then Valor's just the next generic one because Imperm's so good. It's pretty much just the worst Imperm. You could play something else in this slot, like a DD Crow, for example, since that card's pretty good in this deck to hit the Link Rebos and the IPs, which is what we care most about in the fire decks. And then it's pretty good against like the rogue cards as well, like Branded and Voiceless and whatnot. And then Call By is just Call By, and then Instant Fusion, it's good to help insulate our plays from certain hand traps. And then you also play the Mud Dragon as a target for this too, for going second mostly, but you can sometimes go for that going first if you have a read that your opponent has Imperm. So yeah, that's it for the non-engine. This is 41 cards, I believe. You could like cut the Instant Fusion to make it 40, but I think the Instant Fusion's nice to have, especially because the extra deck has some extra spaces in it since you're not playing like the Access Code package, SP, stuff along those lines. So you have some extra space to work with, so Instant Fusion helps fill that as well. So for the extra deck, we got the one Dolka, the one Lagia, and the one Lars, as usual. The one Dweller, two Garas. This card's like randomly $3 for some reason, but you could definitely opt to not play it as well. But I think it's nice to have mainly for like Towers monsters. It helps you get your Conductor to 7k, so you can help beat over pretty much anything. And then you can use this along with Pentastag to go for game if you're not afraid of getting nibbed too, which can come up. The Baguska, this is mainly for Shifter, but sometimes you can go for this as like just a last-ditch effort to kind of survive. Then we got the one Fan. Shout out to Doluk for this. This card's kind of funny. I'd only really play it in a budget list probably, just because it's not like that great, but this is a card you can make like going second when you want to try to go for game if you don't want to make Lars. Its effect isn't on summon, which is unfortunate, but when you make this, you can hit a card from their grave and their field to get rid of them, so it's pretty decent when going for game sometimes. So since you do have the extra space in this list, I just threw it in there just because why not? You could definitely replace it with something better if you have it, but it's decent. Link Rebo, Secure Gardner, the Link Rebo and the Lars, they're both like $6 each. Those are the most expensive cards in the list, so but they're both pretty mandatory, so you can't really go without them. Then we got the Pentastag. Like I said, it can help you OTK with the Garas, sometimes even without Garas. Nightmare Phoenix, just to get rid of problematic back row. The Donner, this can come up if you have like Lost World, Instant Fusion, like a random dinosaur. It's similar to like how the Fenrir combos were, where you could summon your Dino to get the Lost World token on the field, use Instant Fusion for a body, link them both off into this, then you could pop Protect the token and play from there. And then we got the one Baron for the Meteorus stuff, and then the Instant Fusion targets, Millennium and Mud Dragon. This card turning off targeting stuff is very important, especially going second. It can help turn off a lot of interactions if they don't have a way to deal with this without targeting it, which can be a problem for a lot of decks. And then you can just kind of play freely around the other stuff, and then this helps versus like Droll, Ash, and whatnot. And then this being level 4 randomly just comes up as well, so all these are pretty good. Now for the side deck, I'm going to show more than 15 cards here. It's 20 I think, but just kind of give you some options. So we got 3 Nib. These are about $1 each now, so no reason not to have them. The reason it's in the side instead of the main is because we're not playing enough hand traps in the main to kind of pair with it, and then it's not good against some other decks. So I think it's fine on the side when you can get your hand trap count higher post side. Then we got 1 Magnamut and 1 Baldrake. These are pretty much just DD Crows, but with a body. Obviously, you want to be playing like Druis Worms instead of like the Baldrakes, but I figured if I consider Crow a decent card, these are pretty much just the same thing as Crow, but they give you a body. So I still think they're worth playing, even without the like the Druis Worms. But we do have 2 Crows in here as well, just as options you can play. Like I said, I think these cards are pretty good in this deck at the moment. And then we got 2 Ghost Bell as well, just as another option you can play. These kind of cards are really good into a lot of the non-fire decks, so I think having them as options in the side deck is nice. You don't have to play these exact ratios right here. Like I said, it's going to be 20 cards, so you can kind of pick and choose what you want to play, but these are just options. Then we got 3 Cosmic. This is the best back row removal card right now, in my opinion, since it can just kind of react to what your opponent's using, whether it's a Floodgate or a Field Spell or whatever. I like that you can sat it in going first against some matchups as well. Then we got 2 Lightning Storms. You don't have to play these, but sometimes just being able to hit monsters post side can be good. It also serves the same purpose as the Duster in that sense for the back rows, so I think you just play this instead of Duster, since it's the same thing just with a higher upside. But you don't have to play these either. Then we got 3 Dark Rulers. I feel like this card's underrated right now. It's not particularly great against like the Fire King version of Snake Eyes, but I think versus Pure it's actually pretty nice for this deck specifically. Especially if you pair it with something like Imperm or like a Bestial or a Crow to get rid of the IP on their turn. It kind of makes it so they don't even have that to fall back on, because you don't really care about the Princess Engrave very much. So if you can deal with the stuff on the field that threatens the Omni Negates and the IPs and whatnot, I feel like this card actually puts in a lot of work. And then versus some other matchups, it can be nice to side in as well. And then for the last card, I got 3 Solemn Judgments. I feel like this or Solemn Strike is the best going first card that we can play, just because I think Anti-Spell in a format that's a very hand trap heavy, I don't think it's actually good in this deck. Since if you do get hit by a hand trap and then you get stopped at that point, but you have Anti-Spell, it might stop them, but when it gets back to your turn, you're not going to be able to play either, so it's not really going to do anything at that point. So I think Judgment and Strike can help. Sometimes just hitting their normal summon can just be impactful enough to get it to your turn anyway. So, and then these can help you versus stuff like Dark Ruler and Droplet if your opponent does side into those as well. So I think it's definitely nice to have. And then another one is like Summon Limit that you see a lot of people use. I don't think it's very good in this deck though, for a similar reason to Anti-Spell. And then in the like Snake Eyes decks, they can clear their own Summon Limit very easily. We can't do that in this deck, so I think the Judgment or maybe even Strike is the best card to play, in my opinion. But yeah, that's gonna be it for the list. Like I said, it's around $70 for like everything if you don't own a single card, and if you do have most of these staples, the Dino cards are only like $20, if that, maybe a little bit more. But yeah, it's gonna be it. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe, all that good stuff. If you made it to the end, comment Dino Gang in the comments. That's it. Peace.